Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Right now in the Warzone meta, obviously there are some phenomenal choices, whether it's some classic weapons that were brought back for season 3, some of the main meta mainstays that we've had over the past few seasons. There are some really fun choices to run, some really dominant choices to run, a lot of them fantastic just with a basic setup. Your standard overkill loadout, 5 attachments on your primary, 5 attachments on your secondary, you're good to go. But you can also take a very strong weapon with just 5 attachments in this game and honestly bump it up to being downright overpowered, borderline broken in some cases, by using gunfighter and getting 8 attachments. And today I wanted to break down 5 of the best gunfighter meta loadouts to be using right now, taking some really just dominant weapons and making them even better in every way possible. So first up, we are starting with a beast. Like, if this is the first one we're talking about, probably tells you the direction of the video. The AMAX, we already know this is arguably the #1 rifle in the game, just as like a standard 5 attachment setup. You pair this with an SMG or whatever for the close range, and like you're set. You use 8 attachments on this thing, it doesn't matter where you're fighting with it, you're going to be confident that you're winning the gunfight because this thing shreds everywhere. So with gunfighter on here, we got a lot to break down. For the optic, obviously this in every single situation is going to be personal preference. I like the Dobrik 4 times on here. I like the Otero red dot, the Willis 3 times. There's so many good optics, so just use whatever one you are comfortable with. Rock that, you're all good there. Because the AMAX is not as extreme as some other options in terms of recoil, I find monolithic suppressor to be totally usable here. If you have this setup on here and you're still struggling a little bit to hit your shots out at some further distances, you could absolutely check out the compensator and see if that'll help out a little bit more. But I like staying off the radar. I like expanding that range and that velocity even more. Plus, reinforced barrel is going to do that as well. So we end up with a near 65 meter effective damage range and over a 1200 velocity. So this thing's going to be insanely consistent whether you're fighting at 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 plus meters. It's going to feel reliable. It's going to feel like it hits at all those ranges, right? Vertical foregrip on here, helping out with some horizontal control, making the weapon a lot more predictable there, limiting the recoil to be more vertical, which is a huge helper. Extended 2, very obvious here, just a standard 60 round mag, nothing out of the ordinary with that. Then because we got extra attachments here, I love quick draw rear grip on here. Faster ADS, better jumping ADS too if you're doing a lot of jump shots. Commando on here is a really good choice as well for some slightly better sprint to fire and ADS as well. So you can test around at that, see if one feels better than the other, but makes it more aggressive. Never a bad thing here. I also really like the infiltrator stock for the better aim walking movement speed, aka strafe speed. Kind of throws off enemies when you're hitting them with a gun that's this powerful and you're also bobbing and weaving while you're ADS and shooting back in a gunfight. So that's a huge benefit to have. Then lastly, why not go for even more recoil control? Recoil springs, free recoil across the board for stabilization vertically and horizontally. Just makes the weapon again a lot more easy to use and a lot more consistent. So this is a loadout that just honestly feels like it doesn't lose. It is that reliable, it is that consistent. Now following the AMAX, we sort of have the mirrored version of it with the AK-74. Very similar to the AMAX in a lot of ways, insanely good TTK, works just fine as a basic 5 attachment gun. You throw on 8 though, you can really optimize it and counter its biggest weaknesses and make it an incredibly strong option here. So again, for the optics, simply a matter of preference. In this case, I'm going for the Jason Armory 2 times. I do use a compensator here. As much as I would love to run monolithic, even though we can stack, recoil springs and other control based stuff on here, with just monolithic on here, the recoil is still noticeable. It's definitely more noticeable than like the AMAX in this case. Now, some players might not find it that bad, or maybe you're tap firing a bit more. You really want to stay off the radar. Monolithic is a fine option, but if you really want to truly optimize the AK, I feel like you got to lean towards that compensator personally for that better control. Reinforced barrel, we still have up over 1,000 velocity and over a 50 meter effective damage range, even without monolithic, which in and of itself is fantastic for sure. Vertical foregrip, again, attacking that horizontal recoil, so it makes the weapon more predictable. I personally live with extended 2 on here. It's a 50 rounder that works fine for this rate of fire. 652 is not going to be crazy on the DPM. If you're okay with being a little bit slower, you could upgrade to extended 3 and get 10 extra shots there with the 60 rounder. Totally a matter of preference. I do again like quick draw rear grip, although ergonomic for a more aggressive playstyle also works really good if you are doing a lot of slide canceling in your gunfights. Still going to help out with ADS speed there, so that's practical, as is commando as well. Balanced stock in this case, some better base movement speed. Still, you're getting better strafe speed out of this too. Infiltrator would also be a really good option here if you're just looking for the strafe speed, which obviously, like I said on the AMAX, is really convenient. And then again, of course, recoil springs, free recoil control. Why not? So a little bit more difficult to use than the AMAX in certain situations, but every bit as good when it comes to damage output and just dominance if you know what you're doing with it. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you enjoy the video, you find the info helpful, a like rating is always really appreciated. Much love to everyone who does take the time to do so. It really helps the channel grow. And speaking of the channel growing, if you happen to be new here or maybe you have not subscribed yet, we should change that. Every single day, this is your one-stop shop for the latest Call of Duty news, updates, and meta breakdowns, so feel free to hit that subscribe button to stay in the know. Next up here, by far one of my favorite weapons in the game, especially for a gunfighter build, the KSV. This thing is so versatile as an SMG. You want to use it up close? Awesome, it's great there. You want to use it as sniper support? It's also fantastic there as well. This thing from like 0 to 30-35 meters is such a competitive option, and with 8 attachments on here, again, you can really optimize it to do everything. Whether you're fighting at 10 meters or 35 meters, it's going to be reliable, it's going to be consistent. In this case, I've got the attachment, so why not use an optic? I'm kind of back and forth with the irons. They're all right, they're not my favorite though, and I do find myself to be a lot more accurate when I'm using something like a Kepler Microflex. I do actually go for the compensator here. Close range, you typically don't want to run monolithic suppressor since it is hurting your ADS speed. We obviously don't want that for a close range based weapon. The base suppressor on here would also be viable if you're comfortable with the recoil as is. It's not too bad in the close range, but if you just want to be extra accurate, obviously the compensator is never a bad choice. Long barrel on here, extending out our damage range to almost 18 meters. For an SMG, that is phenomenal. Very rarely will you have subs that are that lethal out to that damage range with their most effective TTK there. Plus the 575 velocity is totally sufficient for any realistic fight you want to be taking with this thing. Ranger foregrip giving me some horizontal control, which again is hugely helpful, but you also get some sprinting movement speed too, so it's even more aggressive. Best of both worlds there. Extended 2 is the max option here. It's a 50, so of course we are rocking that. Ergonomic rear grip for the better slide to fire speed, the better ADS, just making this more aggressive and more snappy there. Balanced stock also feels fantastic here for the better movement, making it more aggressive, better strafe, helping out in gunfights there too. And then of course, recoil springs yet again. Why not get that free control? Make this gun even easier. Typically SMGs with 8 attachments, you're probably not going to notice a huge difference based on some of the optimal 5 attachment setups, but the KSV is one in specific that its versatility is just heightened even more by a setup like this. So good. Another SMG that really benefits from 8 attachments, or truly just having more than 5 attachments, I'll explain, is the SAUG. This is an SMG that's really risen in popularity here in season 3. It is fantastic for movements, even more so with this build. Really good TTK, really good range as well. I've really been enjoying using this thing over the past few weeks. Again, first up here, base compensator. I mean, if again you're comfortable with the control, you could run suppressor. No real need for monolithic here because we don't want to slow down that ADS once more, but either or compensator or base suppressor gonna be solid there depending on how much you value accuracy versus staying off the radar. Long barrel yet again, extended damage range out to about 14 meters there. Really solid, especially because the damage drop-offs are not super harsh in this case. Ranger foregrip once more helping out with control and better sprinting movement speed, which is already a huge plus for this gun, so you become even more aggressive. Extended to 55 with the 909 RPM. That's going to be all right. The DPM won't be the greatest in the world, but it'll work. You're not going to be constantly worried that you're going to have to reload in the middle of a fight because you're not going to have enough ammo. This is sufficient. It's just, it could be better objectively, but it gets the job done just fine. Again, ergonomic rear grip for the better slide to fire and ADS, balanced stock for the better strafe, the better general movement speed on there too. You do have, an extra attachment at the end of this because I think the irons are so solid. I don't run an optic personally. Now you could if you wanted to, 100%, but I figured might as well get the most out of having 8 attachments instead of leaving a laser blank. Typically, I don't use lasers, but the Strellock or the Strelock, it's solid if you do a lot of hip firing into ADS. It's going to make it very accurate, as several creators have pointed out over the past few months. It's a solid option, like especially in multiplayer, people use this a lot. Typically, again, not a big laser guy myself, but if you got the extra attachment, you want to run this, that'd be my best choice there. Then lastly, of course, another mainstay, recoil springs, free control. You're never going to pass that up. So yeah, the SAUG is another option that is really good with 5 attachments and then insanely good with 8. And then lastly here, I've got the GPR. This is kind of like the KSV version for the rifles here. So good in and of itself with just a 5 attachment build, but 8 attachments allows this thing to be be insanely versatile. One of, if not the most versatile rifle in the entire game, if I'm being honest. You could rock this for sniper support, adjust your optic as needed there. You could run this for just mid-range gameplay exclusively, mid to long range as well. This setup in particular can kind of do all of that in one. It's pretty insane just how versatile this thing is because of its TTK stats, its ranges, the mobility, everything here just feels phenomenal. And on top of that, it's an extremely easy weapon to use outright. So for the optic, really a matter of preference. Where do you think you're using this most? Mid to long range? Okay, use an optic accordingly. Close to mid range, use an optic accordingly, adjust as needed there. Monolithic suppressor yet again, better range and velocity, reinforced barrel for more of the same. So we're up to just over a 43 meter effective damage range, 1100 velocity. The drop off there, not super harsh, especially into the mid range. So this is going to be feeling good at a lot of different ranges, you know, whether you're fighting up close or over long range. Vertical foregrip, max horizontal control here. If you're really comfortable with how this thing feels, feel free to check out Ranger, get some sprinting movement speed on there, make it even more aggressive and versatile. Never a bad option. Extended 2, the max option here, 60 with the 714 RPM. You've got a great damage per mag stat there. Quick draw rear grip for the better ADS, infiltrator stock for that better strafe speed, and then once more, huge surprise, recoil springs. Never passing up that free recoil control. So yeah, this weapon is so much fun. Again, saw some solid updates with season 3 as we've covered previously, and with 8 attachments, man, oh man, it's feeling good, as are all these options here today. And this is just a small glimpse into what the gunfighter meta is like. These overpowered builds here that are just insanely good everywhere. Gunfighter's a game changer. Obviously, you have to give up that secondary to do so, but man, these weapons are as versatile as they come, and they are so reliable. Big fan of all these builds. Let me know your favorite down in the comments below if there's another option that you've been rocking lately that you've been really enjoying. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always really appreciated, and if you're new to the channel, you want to guarantee that every single day you're up to date with everything going on in COD, feel free to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.